onions in it, huh? Nobody did, man. Nobody wanted to be next to you.
Y'all ought to really have a chair between y'all.
You'll see.
Yes, sir. I got 3 of them. Anybody need one?
It is 5:31, and we're going to go ahead and get this meeting, council meeting, special council joint meeting with the Valverde County Commissioners at December 6th of 2022. I'll go ahead and get Mari to do a roll call.
Yes, sir. Mayor Alvaro Arreola,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Stephen T. Webb,
Present.
Councilman James DeRusse,
Here.
Councilman J.P. Sanchez,
Here.
Councilwoman Alexandra Falcon Calderon,
Here.
Councilwoman Ernestina Martinez,
Present.
and Councilman Jesus Lopez Jr.
Present.
Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Thank you.
We ready? My
Yeah,
turn.
your turn, sir.
Okay, call to order, determine there's a quorum present, Commissioner Wardlaw, Commissioner Vasquez, Commissioner Nettleton, Commissioner Flores, and myself, we have a quorum. Mayor?
At this time, we'll go ahead and stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Lead us in it.
At this point, do you have anything to?
No, I just want to read the agenda item.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with item number 4, discussion, questions, answers with citizens regarding the second International Bridge project, possible action regarding the same. One of the key things that I want to mention on this is to inform your constituents. It hasn't been done yet. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. I think there were several statements that we already have everything settled. We're still working with our consultants to get the best route, to get the best solution to everybody. We're still going to continue the information to the citizens of Del Rio. I think you guys are very important to us. We're going to listen to your feedback or every questions you have. We'll try to answer to the best of our ability, and we'll continue this type of information to everybody. We're not doing anything yet. We're not proceeding with anything. We still want to negotiate and make sure we come to the best solution, not to affect anybody. So this is where we're at. We're going to continue listening, and your voices and your concerns will be taken and will be written. Judge?
Our item, it says discussion possible action on Second International Bridge and road right-of-way. I think, Mayor, we talked about earlier maybe allowing individuals to come up and speak. We did not do a sign-in sheet, but if y'all want to line up behind the mic, we'll begin to listen to you. Whoever wants to go first. If you will please, when you walk up, if you'll give your name and then more or less where you live, that we'll have an idea. You're up.
Yeah, sure. I'll start us off. My name is Jordan Ediger. I live on Hold Up Pass, and so this proposed project would place my house, it would sandwich my family and I between 2 4-lane highways. All right, so in the informational meeting that we had, my question was, it was never really answered, was that the option to go downstream was taken off the table. And if you go downstream near Laughlin Air Force Base, you can also hook up with a loop there. In addition, you don't have any impact to all these families here down there. So my question is why is downstream taken off the table?
I think
Go ahead and sit down.
we'll take that in heart, sir. John, do you have an answer for that? Because we
Nothing.
haven't really reviewed it on yet.
Other than Mayor, that was, we went through the process, we looked at all the routes, and there was a lot of involvement and public input into the routes, and the route that was selected is the route that we're currently looking at.
Do you mind when y'all get that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you finish?
That was it? Okay. This whole deal, to give you all a bit of history on this, when SL 79 was built, the road that comes, as soon as it crosses 90, people kept saying that the overpass went to nowhere. The overpass was built for the intention of going to a second international bridge. There's a 100-foot right-of-way, which is wider than most right-of-ways in, I'm sorry, in Lake Ridge. And then there was another 100-foot setback set from the property line back into the individual's property on both sides. When this thing was thought of, I guess, before we got here in 2011, that was always supposed to happen. SL 79 was built to go to a second international bridge. When the process under Judge Allen and the first court that I was a part of, we built SL 79. There were some funds left over. We built an overpass because the road was supposed to go to Second National Bridge. But with the development that we've had out there here recent, and I guess as county judge the last 4 years that I've been here, I've not done really a good job of letting y'all know that live out on Las Brisas that the reason that you had a 100-foot setback was to end up with a 300-foot right-of-way. I will tell you that during the process that the bridge was looked at to be put upstream from where the bridge is, and I'll say upstream, downstream, and I refer to where the bridge is now. The reason that bridge was put upstream during those conversations that we were having with the city in 2011, 2012, was because of the maquilas already being out there on the Mexican side. All right? But in saying that, I, in my opinion, can't speak for the court, but in saying that, there never was a great interest in looking at building downstream. We looked, Carlos, Friday, right? We actually checked the mileage, just to give you a little bit of an idea. The mileage on the road, or the linear feet on the road that would have to be widened through Las Brisas is about 23,000, 25,000 linear feet. And then from the high fence going back to the bridge is another 22 to 25,000 linear feet to the center of the water. The answer to your question was, back then it wasn't ever looked at, and I think when the city picked up the ball, they just continued to run with upstream. If you look at what is downstream, if you were to connect SL 79 to Mexico, downstream, you're about 23, you're about half of what the road would be, what is being considered right now, half of the linear feet. So in my opinion, when this bridge was first looked at, bottom line is because of the maquilas. But if you look at it right now, and the amount of development that Las Brisas has had, and Lake Ridge has had, I think from the consultants that we heard from the city's consultants, there's 90 some odd accounts, 90 some odd different property owners that live on Las Brisas. I personally don't think it's a good idea to go down that road right now and do that. But that's how come we're having these discussions, so everybody can listen and figure out which way everybody wants to run and try to bring information to the table, both to the city and the county. I will tell you that if you look at connecting SL 79 and 277 to the Mexican side, it actually goes to two highways, one of them going to Piedras Negras and the other one going to Saltillo, Zaragoza. So, he corrected me this morning too. So if you look at a map and just were to draw a line, it would almost make more sense right now today to draw a line, in my opinion, but we're here to gather information, to go from SL 79 277 to Mexico, because it's shorter. You visit with one individual that just bought the Moody Ranch, but you would have to get, and I'm not trying to offend somebody by saying the Mexicans or whatever, but bottom line is you'd have to get the Mexicans on board. The reason that that first bridge was picked was because it went to the Maquilas on that side. But now they have a major road that connects the Maquilas back to the first international bridge, and if you built the bridge from 277, SL 79, straight across, it ends up at the intersection of two different highways on the Mexican side. But in answer to your question, that was never even thought of before, and the reason that it was built there was because the thought was that it was right next to the Maquilas. Hope that answered your question.
I guess for a rookie like myself, I think how many years have this second bridge has been in the works?
Probably 10, 20 years probably. I will tell you that it's been moved up and down the line. In 2011, 2012, Mayor, when we first came, in 2011, when we first came into office as a commissioner, I know that there was Valverde County actually had a transportation committee, right? Transportation committee that was formed with individuals from citizens that lived within Valverde County. In 2011, 2012, it started, there was a push to build a second bridge because that is what we needed at the time. And we didn't need it right now, but we would go through the permitting process in order to be able to move forward. That way, at the point that we did need it, all the permits would be in place and we could move forward. That was the thinking back in 2011, 2012. There were several meetings had between the city and the county. At one point, we had paid some money, the city had paid some money to hire consultants, and at one point when, trying to be nice here, but at one point, the city just sort of took off by themselves under a different mayor. That's what happened. The consultants never came back to us in 2012, 2013, when we got done with SL 79. Part of the things that we had looked at back then, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think back then we had looked at about a $265 million project in 2012, 2013 to go from where the overpass is on 90 down Las Brisas and to go wherever we would end up with on the American side for the bridge, about $265 million. At that time, when we quit, and because the city quit talking to us, we'd actually made comments back then that it wasn't feasible and that you couldn't pay for it with truck traffic. And the truck traffic that it would take to pay for the bridge was not there. So the consensus was back there after we were set aside, we weren't going to deal with it, we being the county, because it didn't make sense financially. Right now, I've not seen a cost analysis on what it's going to cost. I know that there's other funds out there that are available to build this thing. I guess when we start going through this, you're going to have comments that, yes, we need a bridge, no, we don't need a bridge. But at the end of the day, I've not seen
And the reason you haven't seen it, Judge, is because we're not even there yet. This is where we're here for, to discuss it with our constituents to see how far we're going to get down the line. I think it's progress here, like you stated. It's communicating to the people that are going to be affected, or the ones, how can we work this? Because eventually, for us to progress in our community and really grow, we're going to need a second bridge. I'm not saying it's going to need it by tomorrow. This is the studies that we're going to get to that level. You stated several mayors. I think it was Robert Garza, Bruno, Bobby Fernandez was a catalyst at the beginning when you first,
We started.
the county made the adventure to put this in place, and yet it's been tossed, the ball's been tossed further and further and further, and this is where we're at. But we want to make sure that everybody's aware. This is not a done deal. There's no route there that is already in blood that we're going to do. We're still trying to put everybody in perspective and try to find the best solution to where we're all going to be happy. Is it going to happen overnight? No, it's going to take a year or two to come to the right conclusion on where we're going to go from here. But we can talk all night, but we got some more people
Hey, I'm
in
going
the
to
audience.
address your comment right now that I don't understand how anybody moves forward without an idea what it's going to cost. You've already drawn a line in the sand, which is the road. And
No.
I just don't believe that you move forward with something without a cost analysis, and you say you have not moved forward. Y'all sent letters that y'all wanted to charge somebody a
let's-
tax.
I mean, I think I'm going to put this to a rest. I think there's several, there were letters sent out, and if you want to, I got legal advice here that can explain to our constituents, and this is not, I got Jack Stern that can explain to the constituents what this letter's all about, if you want them to explain it to
No,
them. so
no. I
everybody's
mean,
on
it's
the
going to
same
be a
page.
level of trust. I mean, you've had this conversation on Friday, and I don't want to open up that can of worms, because then I'm going to
All
get
right,
upset.
then just proceed. Mr. Mendoza, you have a question?
My name is
comment?
Frank Mendoza. I'm the local McDonald's operator. I've been in Del Rio for 46 years. Originally, I'm from Chicago. And the reason my coming to Del Rio was I had a family, and I didn't want to grow up in Chicago, because everybody here knows what's going on in Chicago, and it was exactly the same way when I was growing up there. I wanted my family to be safe. I wanted my family to prosper. I wanted my family to grow. And one of the things that I see here, I've had many young men and many young women come through my business. They grow up, they get married, and what do? They move to San Antonio, there are no jobs here. They move to Houston, there's no opportunity here. They move to California. When you want to see your children, you've got to travel or they've got to come and see you. But if we had industry here, if we had more businesses, if we had good paying businesses here, your grandchildren, your children could stay here. I have my children here, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren living here with me. I can see them every day. I don't have to travel to California. We have an opportunity here where we have roads coming in from Mexico to Del Rio. We have the ports to planes coming in from Canada to Del Rio, but they divert to Piedras Negras, to Eagle Pass. Why? They're working on their third bridge, and we're still working on our second bridge. We're missing an opportunity here that we shouldn't miss, okay? I just want to say that, okay? I also want to see my business grow, okay? So I look at this as the idea of Del Rio growing, okay? I'm on the board of directors for United Medical Center. We have problems trying to get nurses, we're trying to get doctors, and you ladies will excuse me for saying this, but a lot of times the doctors' wives don't want to come here because there's no shopping. They want to go to a big city, so we lose them. We lose a lot of opportunities for our families. I want to see Del Rio grow. Ports to planes may be doing that for us. We need a second bridge. And I see some people shaking their head. I shake my head, yes, we need it. Please. Thank you. I look
you,
forward
sir.
to it.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you for listening.
Mayor, if I could, if you don't mind, if I was going to just possibly go back and try and catch some things and answer some of the questions as they come up. We talked about the feasibility study, and respectfully, I think the feasibility study was done early on, and I think it was $140 million. I'd like Mr. Riojas to come up and explain just how, as far as putting the costs together, that, you know, we did a feasibility study early, but we're still in the same bridge, so you're going to be working on a more refined cost estimate. If you could, if we could let
You want
Michael.
to step up to the mic so everybody can hear you?
Part of the work that we're doing right now is doing the environmental for alternatives analysis by NEPA, getting all the public comments, and as well doing our total revenue study to ensure that the bridge is financeable as far as cost on that, and then also doing a financial plan on the bridge as well. So all that is needed to be viable, to submit for a presidential permit. So all the numbers have to come up positive so we can.
But I think, Ms. Rose, you've explained to us, in other words, that it's very difficult for us to get an updated, you know, to get a full cost until you've finished this process, because you're still looking at properties and right-of-ways and everything. So you're working on getting the total cost updated.
Because we're looking at the public comment we're receiving, trying to see what we can do, revise, and once we get the set route, we can get set cost, so we can do the comparison with total revenue study.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Viva Vallejo. As you all well know, the Amistad Dam will be under repair starting about 2024. And that is going to create, once that is done, that is going to create, if you look at the aerial map, and everyone can do that, you are going to find that there are a lot of cavities on the Mexican side. Because right now you can see where everything is green on the Mexican side and not on the American side. So once that is capped, that water is not going to be flowing towards Mexico because it's going to be capped, and it may just be going down the river. I have mapped the area, and there are a lot of caverns out there. One major cavern that is extremely big that was covered up has a lot of veins going on the Mexican side. So precisely where you have your two plants that you put on the internet, both of those will be running above a cavity. I don't know how wide that cavity is because we would need to have a geologist look at it, but there's a problem that will probably happen after the dam is repaired, and that will be sinkage. So we are creating a problem down the river from the dam if we continue with those two routes. We need to move that section to firmer ground, to more rocky terrain. And I would venture to say that that terrain, because I don't see any veins going on that side, would have to be where the cemeteries are in San Felipe. That area there begins to be solid rock, and I don't see any veins and things in there. I don't see any cavities. So I would say you may have to wait until the dam is repaired to see where the safe ground will be. That we need a new bridge? Maybe we do. That we can actually bring industry? Maybe we can, but we haven't in all of these years. And I don't think that it's going to be very likely that Laredo and Eagle Pass are going to let that heavy traffic go and come into Del Rio. That's going to have to be a personal choice for the companies, and I don't see that happening. Now, if we're trying to meet up with the industrial park, that's a great idea because it's already there. But you know what? It's not going from our industrial park to their industrial park. So I have a problem with that. In other words, let's just not include any of the industrial parks, and let's just build a bridge on solid ground. And I think that's what we need to think about. I know that studies are being done, but, you know, we need to be careful. And if you guys start to run with that ball, we're going to hold you responsible for every study that needs to be done. Because it's not just TxDOT that's involved here. It's a whole bunch of governmental offices that do not speak to each other. And they don't even speak to you. So you don't know if they're having meetings somewhere else and discussing your plans and coming up with plans because you're not involved. And every one of you, the county and the city, needs to become involved. I've called the governor's office and I've asked him to form a coalition from here to the valley. And let me tell you, it's not that many people because there's only 4 districts there. But to include us, precisely, the county and the city officials, because that is the most important thing. We need to be aware, and we won't be aware unless you're aware. So you need to keep on top of it. And you need to be very careful of the route that you select, because the point to start is right there by the cemeteries. I don't know how far you would want to go down into 277, but you better consider it, because we are definitely going to have sinkholes in Mexico. We will probably have sinkholes here in the United States, because we know for a fact that when cement was poured down on the Amistad Dam, that it came out to San Felipe Springs, and that part was capped. We don't know whether there are other veins that are going to affect our rivers, so we need to be very careful what we plan on building. The other thing is we should not be displacing families, because that's not our job. We're supposed to be taking care of our communities. We elect you to represent us, not to come up with your own opinions. You come up with the opinions that reflect and help us, that deal with us, because that's what it's all about. That's why we put you there, because you need to take care of us. And that's what we need from you. You need to find the best plan. You need to take care of it. Don't cut any corners if you're going to build it, because then we're going to have problems in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's what we're trying to do, be good stewards of y'all's monies. One of the things that I want to remind everybody here, and this is from this, the council and our administration, our concentration also is, and if everybody's aware, we already established 2 extension commercial lanes at the existing bridge. which is something that is going to alleviate some of this traffic that we have, and we want to continue on that vision of trying to maybe do an arch all the way to the Mexican side. And it's something that I think we as the administration, we met with the judge and the commissioners in regards to that adventure, and even connecting Loop 79. And Loop 79 has been, what, 15, 20 years out there? And 13 years? 2013. And there were some additions, extensions that weren't really done all the way to the actual existing bridge. And that could alleviate a lot of traffic, commercial traffic. So we're working on that. It's nothing that, we're not dropping the existing bridge and the improvements we want to do there to go to the second bridge. But we already spent, $1 million or $2 million in the new studies for this. And I mean, this process has been there for 2 or 3 mayors ago, and we're picking this up and trying to roll a little at a time and inform our constituents, inform you guys, and come back to the best solution that is going to be for everybody. And is it going to be today or tomorrow? No, I think there's still things done that we need to present to you guys. At this point, I know where the judge stands, and we as a council want to continue informing you guys, maybe have some more meetings down on a town hall meeting in one of the salons out there, so we can come in together and discuss it and come up with the best solutions to this, the second bridge. This is not done yet, so we're working on it. So, sir, sorry.
Just real quick. Your consultant got up right now, and I was told on Friday that there was not a cost analysis, and he just got up and said that there is one. So you do have a cost analysis? You said something about 100. Well, there was 100 and some odd thousand, 100 and some odd million.
I believe that they had initially, hadn't they done an assessment when they did the feasibility study, and I understand that it was 140.
Could we get what he's saying is that they've already done one when they first got started. My question is, now that my number I thought was higher, but if you have that, could we get it? Okay, if you don't mind.
I think there'll be one of the final reports eventually to present to us too. So, sir.
But that's the original report, right, Judge? You're just looking at
Well,
the
I just need to
original?
know if there's some numbers out there, because the number I had is different than the one that you
Okay.
put out.
That's
So
the
I would
original
like to
one?
get whatever's out there. I would like a copy of it.
And that's the old one from years ago.
And that's fine,
they're updating
because
it.
that way we get an idea of what it's going to
Right.
cost, and we can add a percentage to that one. So if there is one, I'd like to have a copy for the court.
Right. We'll present it to you. Sir.
Afternoon. My name is Bruce Henderson. I'm a landowner. I've also been a long-term resident of Del Rio, Texas. My family's been here since 1974. I've talked to my commissioner, I've talked to the judge an extent. They know my feelings on this whole matter. My concern is the routes that's been picked. I've heard several comments, well, when Loop 79 was built, there are property owners, and my property, is along Las Brisas Boulevard. There's property owners out there that was there long before Loop 79 got built, including me. I've been back there since about 2006. I bought that property from the Burke and Ellis estates. When I bought that, there was no mention of a major highway being built. I even questioned the wider footage, and it was, well, they're going to make an improvement here one day. They might make the road a little nicer or something like that, but nothing like a major highway with commercial traffic. Now, I've been told by the commissioners that all the realtors knew about it and everything. We weren't told that. I spent 15 years building up a really nice property to retire at, and now I'm looking at selling it because of something like this. The cat's out of the bag. Y'all say, well, this isn't a done deal yet. It's going to take years. The problem is everybody knows about it. So the property values out there are already going downhill unless you're a commercial buyer. Somebody wants to buy your property for commercial property. Okay. I didn't buy property out there where I raised my kids and had them grow up to be overrun with truck traffic. And my property parallels Las Brisas. I am on the highway. So now I'm going to have commercial properties going right down through there. That is not why I bought that land out there. Everybody I've spoke to and everybody that's been out there as long as me or longer are against the opposed route. Now, whether the bridge is needed or the bridge is not needed, that's up to you guys. You're the county officials, you're the city officials. If you say we need it, so be it. We'll hold you accountable for that later. I also am well connected with the bridge. I know how much traffic comes through there every day. I know what it'll probably increase to. And the amounts of levels of that truck traffic, I don't think is going to get to the extent where we need the size of commercial bridge and properties that y'all are talking about. I was in Laredo early 2000s. They built those commercial bridges in Laredo because the truck traffic was backed up on I-35 for 4 or 5 miles. The wait times were hours at a time. We have zero wait time here on commercial traffic. If it's 15 minutes, it gets boggled up at 8 o'clock when they open the gates, just for about 15 or 20 minutes. That's it. So whether that traffic is needed and all that is not my concern. My concern is the routes. And I know the routes have not been selected yet. So I wanted all the county officials, all the city officials to understand that there's families out there along Las Brisas Boulevard that you guys are going to tear up their homes, their family homes that they've raised their kids in, because they're not going to want to be there along that type of traffic. So please consider that when you're making your decisions, when you're looking at routes. I know there's numerous other routes that make better sense. We've talked about that. And I'm not opposed to agreeing to those routes. But right now, the routes that going down Las Brisas Boulevard, everybody that's bought there and built up over the last 10 years, obviously they weren't told either, or they wouldn't have bought there. The gentleman just stood up. I know his house. It's a beautiful house. I don't think he would have built that house a year ago knowing that this was a commercial thing. If the county and the city knew all along this was going to happen, put up a billboard, future route of Loop 79. Let people know, so when they go down there and start looking to buy property, they're being told the truth. You know, there's a lot of people weren't told the truth when they got into this deal. I was way back in the days before the loop, so I can understand I wasn't told. But when that loop got put in, everybody up here knew what was going to happen and knew when it was going to happen. So please consider that when y'all are looking at your routes. If there's better routes across open ranch land, consider those before you start tearing up all those homes and fences and properties in there. That's all I ask.
I'm going to tell you, I got friends and family members that live on Las Brisas, so I'm looking at specifically the best route, because I know that some of them have built $350,000, $400,000 homes, and I got an old employee of mine that has now raising goats and horses, and she's got a bunch of dogs. And I tell you, we're going to make the best decision, and we're going to keep addressing it to you guys, and make sure that we're all in the same page. We're going to find something. Like I said, I'm with you. I think it would have been done 10, 15 years ago with really letting everybody know what's happening and what was going to happen in the near future. I think it would have been better off, and I think right now we won't be having these discussions, but I can't go back to the past. I have to go forward with what's in front of us and communicate well with everybody in this room. And this is just, I think, half of what the population out there that has concerns. And I tell you, there's some out there that didn't show up today, and I've been getting calls. You know, it's simple. What we're going to do, we'll do it with the best communication, sitting down with all of you and bring up the best solution. Do I have it in black and white right now? I don't, and I don't want to lie, and I don't want to exaggerate. I just want to make sure that we're all, really addressing y'all's concerns and putting it into play. I think the judge has a comment.
Appreciate it.
You're absolutely right. I can't disagree on anything you said. You're right. Should have done a better job. At the end of the day, though, that I don't believe we haven't taken a vote. This court has not taken a vote, but I will tell you that the route that is being thrown out today, as it goes through Las Brisas, up through the high fence, I guess we could take a vote, but I think when we go to take a vote, it's not going to, we will oppose it. Okay, the court will oppose it. I don't know, at some point, we'll have to do a resolution of non-support either for the road or for the whole thing. But I will tell you that the road, the way it's drawn out today, I believe the Commissioner's Court will oppose it. Okay.
Thank you.
I would just like to add one thing, sir. Even before we came over, I just want to emphasize again, I know at the risk of repeating, but right before we came over to this meeting, again, every time we talk about this route, every time we pull it up on the map, we just did it, we talk about that Las Brisas. How do we avoid that? The consultant, is already looking. We're trying to bypass that. I can tell you, all of our focus is trying to divert past that Las Brisas. That's our primary concern, and we're working as hard as we can. And I can assure you, like I say, Mr. Gillis can tell you, that's what we're trying to come up with, these alternative routes. And we think we may have at least one good possibility.
There's a lot of happy families that would like to hear
Yes.
that if it's
Well,
done.
And that's what we're looking for.
When we left the meeting, the last meeting, you actually called me over to go look at a different route.
Right.
¿Verdad? So at that point, I will tell you that there was a different route being talked about. There's probably one of the owners in this room today that owns that property, part of the partnership. But again, I need to emphasize that when we go to take a vote, I'd almost assure you that that route will be opposed if it goes through Las Brisas. There might be another resolution, if we can't all agree on the court side, that, sort of blow one thing up or blow it all up. So in order to get it done, we might end up doing a resolution of non-support for everything. But that will come, one or the other.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next. Yes, sir. Come on.
My name is Dave Anderson. I live over off of across from that high fence that you guys are talking about. You talked about you have family and friends that live on Brisas.
Sure.
You don't live on Brisas. So this isn't going to tear apart your backyard. This isn't going to tear apart your family. This isn't going to affect your guys' lives. You guys are making decisions for Del Rio at the sacrifice of us. We live out there for a reason. We live out there because we have animals. We live out there because we have our kids. We want to raise our kids in that rural setting. And you're going to bring all this commercial traffic over to our neck of the woods where we don't want it. We chose to live out there for a reason. Mm-hmm. And then what about, so you build the bridge or that split, what about then the 90? That's going to send that commercial traffic right up Pike because they're going to want to shortcut Brisas to the loop, and they're just going to cut at 90 so they can go back west. So I don't understand. You're just throwing a monkey wrench in everybody's lives right now with even the talk of this.
Could I address, ma'am?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
I say,
Go ahead.
I would like
Yeah,
to say, just for the record, as far as how this project got started. So when I came in as city manager in August of last year, this was one of the projects, I was aware of this project, that it was just parked. And as, I feel I'm obligated as city manager to see like I say, we've already invested $2 million in that project. That's public funds that they have already invested to get us that far. So we just felt that I felt as manager, I have an obligation to pick that project back up, dust it off, take it to council, and until some council or until some governing body tells us to stop, that project, we have to move on it. So again, we didn't try and come back. We only had one option, which was to pick up the project where the project left off. And where the project left off was the route that went through Las Brisas. So I just want to be clear that, all we're trying to do was leverage the money the community's already put into this project. It's considerable.
But even with the talk, you're stirring up a lot of emotions and a lot of messing up with a lot of futures of folk just even by talking about it. Right. So I understand this project was, pitched 10, 15 years ago. Lots changed.
Yeah.
So, we moved here about 3 years ago. We'd have never bought where we bought if we would have known that there's going to be a potential 4-lane highway to Mexico right in our backyard. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's not going to affect you guys. It's going to affect us. Right. So I just want to let you know that as a resident, it's going to affect me, and it's going to affect a lot of people, and I'm opposed to it. Find another place to put it.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening. My name's John Grace. I live on the corner of Hold Up Pass and Las Brisas. And I just wanted y'all to know what some of the negative impacts we're going to suffer if this truck route goes through on Las Brisas. And I made a list. Personally, we are going to lose about 1.8 acres of land once they take that 100-foot, come 100 feet into our land. That's going to affect our goat breeding hobby, and we've got donkeys and stuff like that out there. There's going to be an increase in noise pollution. There's going to be an increase in air pollution, an increase in traffic, of course. Our family privacy is going to be decreased because with all the trucks coming through, day and night. There's going to be an increased probability of accidents, chemical spills, and groundwater pollution if one of those rigs decides to, jackknife right, in our backyard. We believe that there's going to be an increase in crime, increase in failure to yields coming down Las Brisas. There will be just a general loss of residential appeal and quiet enjoyment for myself and my neighbors, and even people who don't live right on Las Brisas, especially when my understanding is that they're going to rezone all the property on Las Brisas to commercial, and that's going to cause just a general nuisance from all the future commercial businesses that go up over there. So basically, I have there's a real good chance that there's going to be a 24-hour truck repair station, right across from my property. And I just want to make sure that you all knew of how it's going to impact us before you decide on which way that route goes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Michelle.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Fagan, and as many of you know, I do oppose this route. I personally don't feel we need a second international bridge, but that's my personal opinion. My concern right now is the route. And like some of my other neighbors have mentioned, by doing so, you will be displacing a lot of families. And a lot of my neighbors call me all hours of the day and night, just extremely concerned. And I personally am disappointed in many of our local elected officials for putting families through this. I understand this may have been the plan many years ago. Well, times have changed, okay? And if this was going to be a great possibility, like you knew there was a strong possibility this was going to happen, I think somebody dropped the ball. I don't know who. Someone should have either not allowed them to sell the property, or if they sold the property, not allowed these people to build homes. My home will not be affected as far as being on Las Brisas, but where I live, I will be affected with the noise and the traffic. And that is one of the main reasons why my husband and I purchased our home out in the county, to get away from the traffic and to get away from the noise. And now I feel like y'all are bringing all that out to the county. But yes, I do get a lot of concerns from my neighbors. Some have no idea what they will be offered for their homes. They don't want to negotiate because they don't want to sell, but they don't want to be condemned either, because when you get condemned, you get much less. And with the prices of homes and properties, even if they were to build a home, everything's gone up. They're not going to get the home, not even nearly, close to what they have right now. I have neighbors calling, like they're concerned about how they're going to send their children to college now with this expense. I mean, I just don't feel that our neighbors should have to go through all this. Times have changed. I understand these plans have been discussed for many years. I remember sitting in a Rotary meeting when they presented it, the ports to planes, so I know it had been discussed, but if I didn't know where the route was going to be, but if those who knew, I think it would have been best had they not allowed people to build homes. But unfortunately, now homes have been built. I know you keep saying this is not a done deal. May I ask what are other routes you're considering? Because I know all I hear is Las Brisas, residents of Las Brisas have received letters. They've had people on their property trying to go in and do studies. I haven't heard that in any other area. So is there other places that are other routes that are being considered?
Yes, but we don't have it in black and white yet, so as soon as we get that, we'll present it to, everybody,
As we've
including the county.
Yes, excuse me, Mayor, but as we've mentioned, Michelle, that's what, we're working really, really hard to try and completely avoid Las Brisas. I mean, that is our focus. We talk about it constantly, and Mr. Riojas is looking at alternate routes. So that's what they're spending most of their time on right now, is trying to find the least impactful route. So, we're hoping we're not going to have to go Las Brisas. We're working really hard to not go there. We think we can maybe make that happen.
We're going to work strongly and not going there.
Mayor.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Yeah, Judge Owens, I'd like to ask if there's a possibility y'all can take a vote on it tonight.
Everything that you said, again, I'm going to agree just like that other man. I should have done a better job notifying you. I take the blame, all right? At the end of the day, I did tell you a little while ago that if we were to take a vote, I thought I knew what the vote was in opposing the route. I got up a little while ago to check and see if there was a place that we could have executive session. Just in knowing, I think, the court, everybody's up here looking around, probably wanting to take action. I just informed Mr. Sheedy the action that we're going to take, or the motion that we're going to make, as soon as y'all get done talking. So if there's somebody else that wants to come speak.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think
Judge, I'd like to make a motion.
that was it.
We're done? It just,
Come to the mic, sir. What is that?
I just don't want to be waiting on certain things. I have things to do around my house. I built a garage 30 by 40. I've been put on hold because I like being in my house. That's my, I guess, time off from work and stuff like that. All the maps just show Las Brisas. Why not show the other possibility routes? I mean, you're saying industrial park, but what? Industrial park, Mexico's telling you what to do on this side of the states?
No.
Why do you shut it down like you shut down Academy? Other businesses that want to come over here. That's just my thing. It pisses me off because this is my house. Y'all trying to build a damn highway, which is Highway 90, a block and a half from my house.
yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks,
No,
sir.
it's all good.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, I appreciate y'all having a short podium up here for me.
Especially for you, right?
Thank you. My name is Anthony Kusenberger. My residence is actually in Val Verde County. I do pay taxes in the city with commercial property as well as the county. One question to clarify. The $2 million you were talking about spending on this route, when was that spent? Was that something that was spent recently, or are we talking way back?
No, that would have been back in 15 or 17, I think it was 16 or 17 whenever we worked on
Okay.
the first phase.
Okay, it wasn't spent
No.
in
No.
the last year or two on that deal.
That's just the
Remember-
amount that we put in up to the point that we started the second phase.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it.
If y'all don't mind, we have an item on the agenda, discussion, I better put my glasses on. Discussion possible action on Second International Bridge, and there is a discussion and possible action. Again, I got up a little while ago to see if there was a spot that we could have executive session, but that's probably not a good idea for y'all to be waiting until we figure out what the hell we're gonna do.
I'm going to make a motion, Judge. I make a motion that we oppose the current route of the Second International Bridge and work with the city to look at an alternative route.
I have a motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second Commissioner Wardlaw.
I've got a question. Are we talking a new route and a new option for the bridge?
Yes.
Do I have any other questions? Got a motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second Commissioner Wardlaw. All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposing that?
Now, I want y'all to understand something. This motion we just made doesn't matter because it's not our project. but we don't support it. Well, I was the one that set aside Las Brisas. I understand everybody's issues with it. The city can still move forward no matter what we do. We will continue to work to move. I agree with the judge that we need to look at a route south of the existing bridge, which makes more sense. When we set this aside years ago and did this project years ago, it was the feasible place to put this project. Things have changed. It is what it is. So I think we need to look at a different route, but they can still move forward no matter what we do, because this is their project and they're being funded. The $2 million that have been spent, they're still spending that money, Anthony. That wasn't all years ago. They're still paying consultants. I think we need to look at a whole different location. I personally believe that we need to expand the existing bridge, build a loop from 277 south to the existing bridge, because the biggest problem we got is even if we get the truck traffic here, we don't have the infrastructure on the American side to get it out of here. We've got to get Ports to Plains built. We've got to get Highway 90 widened. By expanding the existing bridge and building that, that would give us time to start these other projects and get the infrastructure on our side of the river in a position where we could handle additional truck traffic when and if the day comes that we need it.
Okay, we'll start all over. I have a motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second Commissioner Wardlaw.
We already voted.
Oh, no, we didn't. You started talking.
Oh, sorry.
That's all I know.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? None. Motion carries 5-0. And if y'all don't mind, nobody else is getting up to speak. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the county's portion of this. We've done and we listened to the people that wanted to get up and talk. We've done what we believe we needed to do. And like Commissioner Nettleton said, we will continue to work with the city of Del Rio. We're going to move forward. So, Commissioners, do you have any other comments? I don't have any comments. Council, enjoyed it. Y'all have a good evening. We're going to go ahead and adjourn our part of the meeting. Y'all have a good night. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Anything from, no? I guess in our part, we go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
I'm sorry, can I just say something?
Sure can. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
hey, you can speak
I'm
out.
a chicken liver until the end, I'm sorry. So I just want to clarify, because it was kind of hard to hear you guys in the back, as far as the 100, what was the cost analysis? So we don't have a current cost analysis or cost budget or whatever y'all are calling it, right? The 140 million or something like that was from how many years ago?
That
10?
was from many years ago, whenever they first did the first phase, when they did their initial assessment.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. And then as far as other proposed routes, you don't have anything in black and white.
Right.
But I came to the first meeting that y'all had, I don't know, 5 weeks ago or so, and there were some highlighted on a map, but most of the laminated maps and layouts showed Las Brisas. We live, my husband was already up here, we live smack dab where you guys want to put the elbow to this commercial highway, and yet we didn't fall, our property didn't fall within the studies. So I'm confused at how we're talking about there might be other proposed options, but yet everything that we keep hearing is Las Brisas, Las Brisas, Las Brisas. I mean, why are we here tonight if it's not proposed and already thought of to be on Las Brisas? And then I also want to just say, like, we don't have the law enforcement or the Border Patrol presence necessary that's going to be able to work with the amount of additional crime and the traffic that's going to be coming through there. I mean, I don't understand why we're here today if Las Brisas isn't exactly the best option or best route, or there's other proposed routes. I don't hear anybody else talking about any other route except Las Brisas. So when will we know what the other proposed routes are? Or are you guys just going to make a decision and then, like tonight's meeting that I found out from one of our neighbors about at 2 p.m., I had no idea that this was even happening. And I live right there where the elbow is supposed to be. Most of my neighbors on my street aren't even here. And I bet, and I can guarantee you guys, that they have no idea that this meeting is taking place. So I think you're doing a disservice to us, your constituents that are out there that have no idea that meetings like this are taking place about a highway that you want to put in our backyards. We moved here, we wanted to settle here. We have 3 little girls, and I can already tell you that there's no way that we want to stay here at this point, knowing that the potential that you're going to convert part of our property, raise our taxes to a point where I'm not sure ourselves or most of our neighbors are going to be able to afford to stay out there. Like, it's just a disservice. And the way that we're finding out about it, if I didn't have Facebook, there's no way that I would have even known that this or the previous meetings were taking place. So as someone who's kind of angry and upset because I feel like we're being left out as property owners, like, I'm opposed, 100% opposed. And I know that my neighbors who aren't here tonight are also opposed.
And we apologize on that. We will make a harder effort to, and that's what I addressed earlier. There was a lot of other people that didn't show up to this meeting that are either in favor or against this. And
I agree.
that's why we want to continue informing you guys and sitting down with you and explaining. Once we have that route, we'll come back and present it to you guys and see if you all approve it or we continue searching. Right now, I think it's informing. And I'm glad you came up because we had already seen that nobody else was showing up and they closed their meeting. We're still here listening to you all. And this is where we want to go. We're going to continue listening and make sure that your voice is heard. And we move forward with something that is going to be a benefit to you guys and the city and the county. We all have to work together.
I don't think anyone feels like their voices are being heard because
Exactly.
we built houses out there. We demoed a house, rebuilt an entire house, had no idea that this was even discussed a decade or so ago. So I don't feel like our voices are being heard at all.
Well, you know, and I'm going to tell you as a mayor, this is the reason when I first came in and was elected, which is about 6 months ago, I talked to John and said, we're going to start going backwards and informing our constituents about what's happening. And I think that's what stirred everybody getting all this into it.
I
because
understand,
we,
but don't
we
you think
went
that it
back
would
to
have been
informing
a better
instead of-
idea to go back and see all of the proposed routes and have people surveying out in their properties before coming here and saying that Las Brisas might not be the best option?
Right. I feel for you. I mean, we're all there, I think.
And I think, ma'am, again, the only reason Las Brisas is the only option that's on the map, because that's what we started with, because again, that's where we picked up the project. So Las Brisas obviously is the primary route, but that's what we're working on. And as far as not, you say you mentioned some of the other routes, some alternates they're looking at, but they just haven't locked into any of those, because I know, again, after speaking with Mr. Riojas today, they're still spending quite a bit of time of trying to find those routes. So the Las
Understood.
Brisas route is certainly there, but that's because that was the route that we picked up.
And I understand that, but I already have like senior citizen neighbors that are trying to make like end of life decisions based on it being on Las Brisas. So if that decision or if that was in the talks, it being Las Brisas 10 years ago or whatnot, I don't understand how a better determination now couldn't have been made to come and discuss multiple options as opposed to us just arguing that we don't want it in our backyards.
And I think even the motion that they made doesn't, I mean, we weren't even looking at that as that's the route we're going to take. We wanted to step backwards and give you guys all the information, and we all sit together so that we can come back to this right
But we
solution.
can't get the
There is
information if we
counsel
don't
here
know that these meetings are
that
taking
have
place.
said on previous, I think a couple of years ago, when this study started, and John, myself, and some of the other council inherit this. But we want to go and go through the process of informing you guys, and I feel for you. I had the same frustration when I came in. But now, this is something that we need to work in a collaboration, even with the county. We all need to collaborate and find the best route that is going to not interfere with anybody.
And I think you have all of our support as far
Right.
as wanting Del Rio to have more economic and business growth. Like, that's not the argument here. It's the unmeasurable amount of money and memories that people have put and built, blood, sweat, and tears, mine included, in knocking. We demoed a house ourselves and rebuilt a house ourselves. So, I mean, you have our support as far as wanting to make Del Rio better, but not by dismantling homes and yards and memories and everything that a lot of people in this room have worked hard for.
Correct.
So that's all. I'm opposed. Thank you, sir.
God bless.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hold on.
Excuse me.
Yes.
As far as letting the people that do not know what is happening, we, the city of Del Rio, along with media, do a very good job letting people know. Now, this is for the county. They need to let you guys know also.
But you're the one putting it through our county.
No, but they are part of it too. No, I'm just talking about media. Excuse me,
Hold
sir.
on, sir.
I'm with her. I'm just answering her concern. I'm just
Hold on,
answering her
hold on.
concern about letting her and the rest know. I mean, we do the best that we can to let you guys know.
Is it solely on Facebook?
No.
What other
Website,
avenues?
Facebook, 8:30 Times.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Your friends, your
What other avenues are you letting people know? Because I
I'm-
can
I'm-
guarantee
I'm-
you my neighbors do
I
not
know, ma'am. I know what you mean, but we also have to have, when Judge was running his campaign, he said he was going to try to do his best to put out there media and let you guys know, and that's what they need to do also.
So you're saying that it's a county issue
No,
for
I'm not
us?
saying it's a county. I'm just saying that they
At
also
this
have
time, can we?
to. I mean, it's,
I will, because we're just going to end up throwing rocks at
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
I will
it's
put
because
an
she
item.
is concerned
No.
about not knowing
I
how.
get it. I
and
get it.
want her
What
to
I will
know.
do is I will put an item on the agenda on the 20-something of December.
Yeah.
I will put an item on the agenda to address this issue with the county. I will recommend at the county level that we do a resolution of non-support for the whole thing.
Okay.
And that's going to be our position if that's what it passes. All right?
We appreciate that, sir. All right. The last question.
Hi. So my question is, what about the second port of entry, like the second bridge that's by the dam that can be used?
Do you mean
Because that's not being used right now. We only use the first bridge over there. But
The-
the one at the dam that's by the lake, that one is not used, and like that is barely used.
Yeah, the
like,
dam.
There's not a lot of traffic in there, so why can that be used?
That would obviously be a very, very expensive proposition to try and turn that dam crossing into it's just not designed for that. But we are looking at, as the judge mentioned, as the mayor mentioned, we're looking at trying to add 2 more lanes to our existing bridge. We're working concurrently with our consultant to add 2 more lanes to the existing bridge to connect back to 79, which that will divert a lot of the truck traffic off of Veterans. But as far as the dam crossing, that's not really designed for that. It really wouldn't work.
So is the design like that's not built for it? Because I mean, you have a certain budget for this, so it's going to be more expensive to fix this
Well, no, but
existing bridge
it
instead of building a new route.
Well, I mean, it's kind of, the way it's constructed. It's mainly a dam for the dam. Right, it's right on top of the dam. It would. I don't think we could do anything over there.
I think if you go back, the Amistad wasn't for commercial trade, because remember the weight
Yeah,
and the
it's-
structure is not there for that specific weight. It was more to retain water. It wasn't for that specific. And that's, what I read, I Googled this, and what I read, it wasn't for commercial freight. You could run vehicles, but you're not supposed to run commercial freight through that
Okay.
because of the weight. Remember,
Well-
sometimes those trucks really are pretty heavy, and we don't want that dam to crack, and then we'll have some more problems.
Okay.
So I think this is the reason back about 18 years ago they started with the vision of a second bridge. Now, there have been so many studies done, and look where we're at. We're still here.
All right.
So
Well, I just want to let you know that I'm opposed to, as my family is. When we bought our property 2 years ago, we didn't know, we weren't aware that this was already planned. And like many people here have said, we invested on that property and we put our savings on it to raise our family. We have 2 daughters, and that's what we were looking for, just a quiet place. And the reason we're concerned is because we are like 2 lots away from Las Brisas, and all the noise of the 18-wheelers, I'm imagining day and night. And also all the smuggling, because whether you like it or not, there's smuggling going on all the time, and that just makes it more dangerous. And that's my concern, so that's why I'm opposed. And I would really appreciate if you can let us know the other routes, and you can do that quickly, because we need to know what to do.
thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Huh? Sure.
So we hear the city talking about this. What is TxDOT telling you all? What have they said? How are they involved with this? Because we didn't even get the 4-lane highway.
No.
So I'm curious.
Well, we're working very hard with TxDOT on a lot of things. As a matter of fact, I believe our consultant is meeting with TxDOT again tomorrow. Our public works engineer works with TxDOT all the time for our access roads. So we do visit with TxDOT, Ms. B, but as far as on this project, you know, this is one of the things that we have to, once the consultant works a little bit further, now he starts working with TxDOT to see what the TxDOT, you know, what their responsibility is going to be, because TxDOT will be funding, you know, a good chunk of this, but we're working with TxDOT, we will be working with TxDOT, but we don't know much at this point.
So you're really not talking with TxDOT about a proposed plan? Or you are?
Yes, no,
We
we are,
have.
ma'am,
You
yes. And we're also, like I said, we've already reached out to our representatives, given them our legislative, our priorities, which include the expansion of Highway 90, 277. We've got all that stuff in there. We've got other TxDOT projects that we've presented to them, and we're going to update those every year and keep those on file. So we are working with TxDOT.
Okay, so I also heard something from one of you all talking about a truck stop.
Somebody said it over
Trying to get a
here,
truck stop somewhere.
right there, Michelle.
Okay, so my concern is, we have been fighting and trying to get TxDOT to open up an area to park right here across from the block that's in front of Ramada and towards Motel 6, and leaving the center portion that is entering into that road in front of Whataburger, leaving it out because the truckers don't have a place to stop. And anyone carrying chemical materials cannot park on the highway. They get moved by city or highway patrolmen. So, I mean, we need to have a truck parking for the truckers
Yes,
somewhere
ma'am.
in that area, because that's where I see them parking, and I see them going to the restaurants there. But we're not even talking about anything that we might
Well,
put in the city.
well, I can tell you that from the city, you know, the problem with the loop is there's no infrastructure. I mean, there's nothing out there. And I can tell you that right now, the city, we're very excited. We have some really good proposals for some commercial development. And so we're looking at actually working on a deal where we can extend sewer and water out to the loop. It'll be the first time we've made it, so we're working on that. We're working with these people. We're trying to get those things done. We understand that if we can get, you know, utilities out to the loop, then we could have things like truck stops and restaurants. I mean, we're working on that, Ms. B.
But what's stopping us from doing that?
We're doing it.
Infrastructure, money.
Money?
Well, we're actually working on it. Like I say, we're in negotiations with a developer right now, and that's how that we believe we're gonna get our infrastructure further out. Maybe not all the way out there, but it's gonna get us much closer.
Yeah, and the addition to Loop 79 and connecting with the existing bridge is going to alleviate a lot of traffic of those heavy trucks. They go through the downtown sector, and they go through Veterans Boulevard, and like you said, they don't have a place to go. So this is things that we're visioning down for the future, and it's something that is going to progress, and hopefully we get those things done so it would be a benefit to all of us. Yeah, I understand that, you know, we're exploding something that got out of proportion, which is natural. You know, we're informing. Once you inform, we're going to have this type of discussion, and this is what's good. Discussion is good in America. It's not about what somebody has stated that we're going to make the decision. No, it's going to be a discussion with the citizens, and we come to an agreement, and then we move forward. We're even going to bring the county aboard with us. They chose to take the motion, which is correct. That's what their lead is. We're still going to proceed on informing, coming up with the best solution towards an agreement on 100%. Is it going to be 100, maybe 80%? But Las Brisas is something that we're not going to touch. We're going to find something else. And we're going to bring it back to the constituents, you know, out there at the lake, everywhere around, and we're going to come to the best solution. And this is where this council is agreeing.
So-
We're all agreeing that we're not going to step up and make a gesture of emotion until we get everything, and we are 100% with you guys, and we move forward.
So
And
at
I
the
think that's
next
what the council is
meeting-
all about.
At the next meeting, in the next public meeting that you all hold, can you please bring TxDOT?
We will,
See if they
and
will
we'll
come
bring
talk.
the best
Please.
route and present it to everybody.
Yeah,
Soon
because
as-
I would like to see what they have to say about our plans.
Yes.
And how they plan on funding them.
Yes, ma'am.
As soon as we can get them, of course, everything you know in the government, it just takes so much time. So
know.
as soon as we can get them, we will bring them.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I know I already talked. My name's Jordan Ediger again. I just had a quick question about the next step. For the city manager, what is the next step now that you've heard our feedback? I feel like we kind of understand, our response. So in your minds, what is the next step for perhaps coming up with a new plan? And then also just want to reiterate, I'd like to hear about a downstream option. That'd be my vote personally. But yes, what is?
Yeah, as far as our next step, we're just going to continue down the path that we've taken, because we believe that that path gives us alternatives. As far as moving the entire bridge south, again, possibly that's something we would have, but we have to understand, this had a lot of public input. I believe they looked at a route south, didn't they? I believe they did. And I'm not trying to say which was best or better or anything. All I know is the route that was selected, again, that was sitting there with, $2 million, was the route that was selected. So, of course, when we picked the plan back up, we didn't have the option to go back and say, well, we want to shift back over here, we want to go south. We had to continue the work where it was. But I think that certainly we believe that we are going to find a way to make this work. We're going to continue to try and find that way. As far as possibly, I guess I couldn't rule it out that if we get to the point where there's, it would be very expensive to shift everything now, to try and move everything downstream. It's just, it would take, several more years to do that. But it's certainly not off the table if something doesn't work out here, if we can't make this work. But again, and sir, where did you say your home was? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm Hold Up Pass.
On
so
Hold Up.
It's right between Highway 90 and Las Brisas. So you'd be sandwiching my house between two 4-lane highways.
Right.
Four kids, just built it. So anyway, not ideal. Obviously, we didn't know about this. So if you go up, say follow the railroad, follow the railroad up towards where it hits the dam, and then on to 90 was one of my proposals, because you already have some of the clearing there for the railroad. I'm just curious, if you're hearing all this feedback and yet the plan is still Las Brisas, or if you're coming up with a new plan, my main question is when and how will that plan be developed?
Well, that's what we're working on right now. Every day the consultants are working on that, and we do believe that, we when we were looking at alternate routes, one of the ones that we kind of honed in on was just skipping Las Brisas and going. I know I'll mess my directions up, but I think continue as opposed to going north, continue kind of west and connect directly into 90, so we can completely bypass all of Las Brisas, and that's what I believe that Mr. Rios is working really hard on. So that's why we have, in other words, if at this point we saw that Las Brisas was, we're going to be demoing all that and there's no way, then certainly we would probably look at going somewhere else if we didn't have this alternate route where we believe we can get right up before we turn on Las Brisas and connect directly up to 90. And we think that's but we have to work with TxDOT on that, and that's, I mentioned, our consultant is meeting with TxDOT, I believe, tomorrow to discuss that. So that's one of the things, the answers that we have to get. Would TxDOT allow us to connect directly into 90, thereby bypassing all Las Brisas?
Completely. Sir?
Just real quick, my name is Adrian Matis. I'm right on Las Brisas, right on there. My brother and I, we share a 10-acre lot, and we've been doing a lot, between both of us. It's been a growing venture between my brother and I to actually move in together and do our own family thing there. So right now, just like everybody else, the displacement. And I think what's happening now is we're kind of getting pushed back on our projects just along with everybody else. Whatever project a person is having there on Las Brisas at their home, we're having to hold off on that, and that's a lot of financial strain on the families, along with the reselling, or even the idea of we can't move right now. We can't make a final decision. Same thing with maybe, hey, it's going to happen. Maybe it's time for us to get out. No one's really going to buy that house, or have the money to go buy another 10-acre lot somewhere else. So I think that's a huge concern, just like everybody else's concerns here tonight. But I think for myself and my brother, that's a huge thing for us. 'Cause where are we going to go now? And that's the next question. I understand that we're having these meetings and things like that, and it's real hard to get an answer right now for everybody. I understand that, but I do feel that an answer pretty close, would really help out a lot for just not myself, but everybody there in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Steve?
Let me ask
Sir.
you and Mr. Alikar? Edgar.
Eddie.
How close are you all to the spur?
Really?
We're just past Wright Steakhouse. Okay, so Spur 454.
Does your property currently abate or butt up to any of the spur?
Mine does not. No. So the spur, my understanding of the spur, right? It goes off and then
Up to
actually
the
ends
side.
up in the lake. Is that right? Off of from Highway 90.
The spur,
Spur 79.
Okay.
79 was originally built as a loop to go around the entire city from port all the way around the city back to the port.
Okay.
Okay? So I was wondering how proximity to that spur, which was, part of that road's already there.
Yeah.
How
Apologize.
close
You
are
have
you?
to show me, and I could tell you better. I can just tell you now that I'm just off of Wright Steakhouse on the south side of 90 there.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
you're some
it's on a
distance
different
from
side.
the overpass, or, okay.
Right. Yep.
I know that our attorney has been dying to speak out, and I think he has some clarification. Jack, would you?
Yeah, I mean, there's, okay. First of all, I get what your homeowner's situation is.
Get close to the mic.
Sorry about that. How about now? I get your homeowner's concerns. Here's the problem, okay, just from a legal standpoint. I'm
Get closer.
screaming. I mean, how about now? Okay, here's the problem. Okay. Las Brisas was first platted back in 2001. Lake Ridge was first platted in 2005. The real problem, and you may talk to some of your old commissioners, okay, about this, or perhaps someone else who was up there on the panel today. Back in September 1st of 1999, the legislature passed a law that allowed municipalities to build bridges over the Rio Grande. That's a state statute. Now, if your realtor didn't tell you about that, or the developer, and these places were developed after that law, didn't tell you about that, don't blame the city, blame the developer. Okay? Secondly, cities have had the right to go out into the, outside into the county and build bridges, okay? But the converse is not true. With home rule cities, counties don't have the right to build a bridge inside of Del Rio. So if you've got a gripe with someone, why don't you look at the plat that was signed by two of the people that were sitting there who failed to tell you about where you were building your homes. Don't blame it on the city. You got plenty of people who voted against this to get the egg off their face. Okay?
Drop it, just drop it. That's all we want is for you to drop the project. We don't need to continue to spend more money. We need to drop the project.
That's your opinion. You're welcome to it.
All right. Okay. Is that it, Jack?
That's pretty much it in terms of what the law is on the issue. And again, if they can find another suitable avenue to put the second bridge,
great. And if not, I suspect we're coming back. And all I can tell you is, we don't know, that's the problem,
Jack.
man.
I agree with you that, okay, the developer or the realtor didn't tell us about it.
Or the commissioner didn't tell the developer.
They didn't tell us when we bought a property. We didn't know.
That's why we're trying to work with you, ma'am.
But now knowing how we all feel about it and that we have built our houses, like my husband and his dad literally built our home with their own hands. And we put on investments on it. Like, knowing that and all the families and all the houses that you might destroy, like, can you just not do it? And you already said you have an alternate route. Why don't you go with that route without?
Because they need to cost it out first, ma'am.
Okay, Jack, I think at this time we can continue with the discussions and the yelling and the screaming, but I think, like you said, we're going to go ahead and find that alternate route that will be sufficient for.
County officials are not here, so I'm
Yes.
going to take off my hat as a landowner.
Yes,
and-
sir.
And now I'm going to
Yes, sir,
put
I'm
on
sorry.
my hat as a public servant.
Thank
okay?
you, sir.
And all the city of Del Rio officials are here, so I want them to hear this.
Yes, sir.
I've spent the last 26 years in federal law enforcement as a criminal investigator. I have worked everywhere from Brownsville all the way to Del Rio.
Right.
And I want to tell everybody here, the crime level that we have in Del Rio and Valverde County is minimal compared to Eagle Pass,
Right.
Laredo,
Right.
Brownsville, those other areas. The police department, the chief's sitting right over there, he can verify this. They can't even fill the open vacancies they have for current positions that you have on board because of the low salary for the same thing with the sheriff's office. So with this element, this more commercial traffic, I can tell you because I've worked numerous investigations with nothing but commercial traffic, it brings opportunity to people to be able to smuggle more narcotics, more individuals, more people. That's going to happen. Your crime levels are going to go up in Del Rio, whether you want it to or not. It's just inevitable. It's what comes with bringing this type of commercial traffic to Del Rio. So be careful before you all vote on this, because when you bring all that crime, you're going to have to bring more positions to the police department, more positions to the sheriff's office. And I'm telling you, you can offer them. They don't even have the applicants to come in and fill them right now. They've had trouble for the last 5 years trying to get applicants. So be careful with that. It will bring more crime. And y'all may look at me like I'm crazy, but I have a lot of experience in this. I can promise you, you don't want some of that stuff that Laredo, Eagle Pass, and other places are dealing with. So,
You know, and even on the growth of businesses, growth of businesses are coming. It's going to bring crime and everything. So I understand what you're saying, sir, and I'll take it in heart, and we'll continue on it. So
it's a proven fact.
Right. I understand. Thank you, sir. Anything else from the council? No? We're not going to go into executive session, so I think at this time it is, my watch is not working. It is 6:52, and this meeting is adjourned.